I know it's always an industry that I can always fall back on if I need to. I can.
Anyway.
So I know it's an industry.
That was an anticipation of my answer. I'm chewing something up.
I'm very excited now. I can't even think straight.
Welcome to the RE-MIX, the video podcast that keeps you in the mix of everything real estate. I'm Noelle Frieson.
I'm Eric Anderson, and welcome back to the RE-MIX. We are so excited today to talk about whether or not real estate is a career for you, whether or not you should quit your job, and how to know when it's time to quit your job.
And that's the biggest question. Should I quit my full-time job and dive into real estate? I say go balls to the wall, quit your job, and dive in.
That's sexist.
She means basketballs, but I say quit your job. I know Adam's going to tell you the same thing, but we're going to talk about that. So let's introduce our panel real quick.
Okay, so we have our power panel. You guys know them. We have Nima, Ameri.
Oh, goddamn. Oh, my God. You guys know them, but I don't.
We have Nima,
oh,
Ameri.
My God.
He's the managing partner at Ameri Law Firm. He is our legal eagle and our rock star deal maker. And we have Adam Sperber. Adam Sperber is the VP of Residential at Alexander Anderson Real Estate Group.
Who recently quit his job like 2 years ago.
I did.
Well, it was more than 2 years ago.
3 years ago. It was a while back. It was a couple years ago.
Was it 2 years ago? Okay. And is now the
Adam, why did you
VP of
quit?
Residential.
Yeah, Adam moves fast. But Adam, why did you quit your job?
I mean, let's be honest. I saw the potential to make more money and to have more freedom. Simple as that.
Adam, start with, you have a great story. I want to hear your story. Like, how did you were doing X, you were doing Y, blah, blah, blah.
So I'll start all the way back. So it was a Monday morning around 9 a.m. when I was born, 1986.
Were you born on a Monday?
I'm pretty sure it was a Monday. I don't remember because it was many years ago.
Ridiculously useless fact to know.
That explains
9:06 a.m. No, but you know, when it comes to real estate, so I've been in, I studied engineering. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and when I got into sales, I worked for many different sales jobs to kind of learn just the sales process. And then I got to the point where, you know, as everybody knows here, that I kind of, to be honest, I kind of stumbled into real estate. It wasn't something that I was 100%, you know, I just had a family member that got into it, so I kind of found my way in.
And then I tripped you.
And then he tripped me, yeah. And then he pushed me. And then I got to the point where I said, you know, I was doing both full time, actually. So I was fortunate, since it was a sales job, that I was able to do both jobs full time. So, you know, I was working pretty hard. I was working long hours, but I was able to simultaneously do both and just let's be honest, make money and work hard. But it got to the point where, you know, I built up my pipeline, and it got to the point where I had to kind of just dive in head first and go, because I got to the point where you can only make so much money and be so successful if you're only putting in 50% of your time, right? Mm-hmm. You need to put in 100% of your time to really take it to the next level.
So you were in one job that had a limited earning capacity, and then you saw another career or a lifestyle that had no limits.
Exactly. And, you know, like I was telling Noelle, like, so for instance, you know, I had a great job. Yes, it's a salary job plus commissions and bonuses and benefits and all of that. And it's very stable. So yes, you know, it's definitely difficult to get over the stability. But once you do, you know, I could tell you firsthand, this year, I've probably done year to date 2.5 times what I would have done all year at my 9 to 5.
Wow.
And we're only halfway
and
through
we're
the year.
in the beginning of July, exactly.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the year.
So since the title of this episode is When Should I Quit My Job? So what was that moment where you were like, I have to do this full time?
Once I got to that point where I realized, you get to a tipping point where you say, okay, you know, you only have so much time in a day. You know, you can't work 24 hours a day. You only have so much time to put into work, right? And whether it's my 9 to 5 or that was real estate, you only have so much time between the two. So I got to a tipping point where I said, okay, if I put in more time and I invest more in myself, now not only am I going to have more freedom to do what I want at home, and in my own time, but I'm also going to have the option to make more money because, you know, you get to that point where now I can invest 100%. I did build up a pipeline. I didn't, you know, I'm not one of the people that jumped into it head first and went 100% and quit right away. I did build up my pipeline to get where I am today.
And I think that's really important.
It depends on your situation, though.
You had a pipeline, so you knew that money would be coming in even after you quit.
Yes.
He had a pipeline. He also had some mouths to feed.
Well, that's true.
But I also have the reason.
Was baby D born yet?
No. Yeah, he was actually when I went full time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But it's, I'm fortunate that I had the support at home. My wife works full time, and so I had that, and we were in a place where I could just, when I got into engineering sales, I know it's always an industry that I can always fall back on if I need to. I can.
Anyway,
So I know it's an industry.
That was in anticipation of my answer. I'm
Okay.
queuing something up.
I'm very excited now. I can't even think straight.
that's good. So,
But no, I got to a point. So like I said, I was at a point where I knew that I could get back into it. I wasn't. I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. So I had the time. I had the resources.
Here's a question I have for you. Were you able to live in the life that you had already become accustomed to? I strictly believe that if you're going to get into something that is entrepreneurial, you have to jump headfirst. Go at it, right? You can't
basketballs to the wall.
Exactly. I truly believe that. But, you have to have a plan. And you can't expect, if you were making a 6-figure income before and you're going into something quite new, you have to expect that your level of the way you live will come down, don't you think?
Correct. Yeah. No.
Yeah? No?
Well, yes and no.
You see, Eric's like, no.
I don't expect my level to ever come down. I just keep on pushing to go higher.
Yeah, but
and
that's
higher and
because
higher.
you're already in it. But when you were 20, whatever you were, and you started out,
A few years ago.
when you started out,
When I started, I had zero experience in real estate. I quit a family business, which I never thought I was going to leave. It was a full-time family business job. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I had real estate as a hobby. And I just jumped in 150%, and I started making money within 6 months, and it was just all uphill in money and downhill in battle.
but for those 6
Or
months,
uphill battle?
you
No,
have to be
downhill
ready
battle.
to eat some cup of noodles,
There
for a while.
was some Burger King
Yeah.
times,
But
definitely.
So this whole topic, right? We talk a lot about what we did, but most of the people, look, if you're watching our podcast, right, odds are you're not where we're at. Maybe you are, that's great, and you're looking for additional ideas. But if you're listening to this and there's interest, you're asking yourselves, okay, that's great what you guys did, but what do we do? When do we do it, right? And everyone has a bit of a different story, and everyone has a bit of a different outlook, right? I mean, we have the man, the myth, the legend in our audience today,
Hi.
Herb. But and actually, he could probably give us some great insight on this. But look, everyone kind of makes it at a different point in their lives, and depending on where you're on, there's so many variables to this. If you're sitting and you're watching our podcast, and you're 19, 20 years old, you have no kids, you live with your parents, you have no monthly nut, then your approach is going to be
Yep.
fundamentally different. If
and
you
it's
have
the perfect time to do it.
not really, that's not true either. We'll get into that.
I think it is. You have no responsibilities.
The younger you are, the less responsibilities you have. And I always say,
Sure.
we can take all our money away when we're young, and we have our whole life to make it back.
Yep.
Sure,
Can't
sure.
do that
so,
at 50.
So guys, when I studied, there was a class at NYU when I was there. It's called International Relations, and they taught you something called the decision tree diagram, right? And a decision tree diagram is not linear. It's like a tree where you start with something, and it just breaks down almost like a family tree and continues to break. So like that notion, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, guys, but to say, I said, okay, if you're 18, 20 and everyone's like, oh, well, then that's the best time. Like that is a really linear way of looking at it.
Sure, you
Because
have to gauge if you're mature enough to be in that stage of life.
even beyond that, right? So that's one portion of the decision tree. So let's visualize a decision tree here, guys. You have one where you're in the age group, you're young, you're 18 to 22, you live with your parents, you have no debt. You have another one, you're a little bit older, you have a monthly nut, you have rent you have to pay, you already have a job, right? Because the
You
question
might
of
have kids, which changes the whole thing.
yeah. So the question for today's podcast is, when do you leave your full-time job? So really, if we're going to talk about 18 to 22-year-olds, we're off topic from leaving your full-time job, right? So then you have
Some people have a full-time job at 18.
yeah, a lot of people will, right? So I stand corrected. Then you have another category that's you're older, you're in your 30s to 40s, and you're looking to change careers in your life, which is a very fundamentally different shift because you're just in a different position in your life. Under each of those, there's separate categories, right? So let's start with that 18 to kind of 22 range, where yes, you have no debt, You have very little responsibility.
You have a lot of energy.
Sure. So your risk factor, right? The factor of risk you're taking at that point is you have more room for risk because you can take big leaps. Because if you fall, you're not that high. You're not going to fall far.
Right.
Getting back up and going again is going to be different. That's one approach. That's what you guys are saying, and that's great. But there's also another approach of saying, hey, you know what? Maybe at that point, I am just taking risks. Maybe at that point, it's smarter to say, let me establish a foundation and then make calculated risks. So maybe
Well, you should always make calculated risks. I mean, it shouldn't be. I don't think you should just jump out and not have any kind of thought process or plan.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's not what I meant.
Calculated meaning you've done your research, you know what you're getting into, but you have to have a love for real estate if you're gonna get into it.
Again, we've talked about that.
You
I don't
didn't have
agree.
a love for real estate.
I kind of stump. I mean, look, like everybody else, like I like.
But
looking,
you loved it before you quit
I
your
like
job.
the idea. I like houses. I like the process. But it wasn't. Growing up, it's not my dream job that I said I'm going to be a realtor for my career. It's just I found that I'm good at dealing with residential deals for the most part. I enjoy what I do, but like I said, it wasn't something that I was 15 years old and I said,
Look,
this is what I want to do.
It helps. It really helps to love what you're doing because then what do they say? What's the homage that if you love what you do and you never work a day in your life,
Right.
But you also don't have to love real estate to get into it. You can just know it, understand it, and see it as a way to make money.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely,
But of
absolutely.
course, if you love it, you're going to be better off.
Nathan has a question, and let me just throw this out here so everyone is on the same playing field when it comes to vocab. He wants to know, what does it mean to build a pipeline, and how much effort does it take to build a pipeline, especially if you're working a 9-to-5?
So all right. So in sales, you have different stages, right? So you have, let's talk about buying a house, helping a buyer. You have from the moment you meet them all the way to closing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have different stages and different steps that go along with your your deal process. Building a pipeline means that you have people that are looking to purchase now, people looking to purchase in 3 months, and 6 months, and a year, and long term, and so forth. So what you have to do is, you know the saying, you got to throw a lot of crap at the wall to see what sticks, right? That type of thing. You have to have a lot of. You're not going to close as much as I wish you would. You're not going to close all of them. So you need to have a lot of things going at any given time just to get those few deals.
And in different process.
And in different stages. So
right.
so like it'd be great. Like if I had a ton of deals right now, I mean it wouldn't be great. Sorry, if I had a ton of deals right now, but I had nobody else that was making offers, then I know that in 3 months or 6 months I'm going to be really slow.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep feeding the pipeline so that you keep having new deals that come up and you're constantly doing new business. Because you get a person today that wants to buy a house, you're not closing them for 3, 6, 9 months maybe.
And that way you never stress out, you never run out of money because you constantly have deal flow happening. You constantly have projects that are going to be closing, and you don't just want to focus on what's going to close today. You want to focus on both. But these are things that you'll learn as you go into the business and as you move forward with your career in real estate.
And Nathan, you can totally do this while you have a 9-to-5 job. That's
100%.
what Adam did. You're building. So as you start building more people, your sort of reserve gets larger and they're in different stages.
But Nathan, that's also respectfully kind of common sense in any industry where you need to tee up. Like you can't just live on one deal. So that's not a factor of when you should leave your job, because frankly, if you're doing anything and you don't have a pipeline or you're not queued up for the next 6 months, 4 months, then you're gonna fail.
But
right?
also understand that those pipelines could fall apart or have hiccups. So you don't want to just have one item in your pipeline. You want to have multiple.
And that's what I was saying. You have to have a lot of stuff going on at any given time. And it would be great if you can close them all. But generally, it doesn't happen that way. And it took me a while. So what's going to happen is, let's say you're working your 9-to-5 and you're getting into real estate. You're going to also develop skills that's going to help you build your pipeline, because people are going to, let's face it, people are going to trust you more because you know the process better. And as you get better at it, it's going to be easier to build your pipeline and get new clients. And it's kind of a cascading effect.
And when you're in a job full time, it's much easier to make money. It's much easier to focus. People are going to take you more seriously. While people do real estate part time, the big people that make the most amount of money are doing it full time. And if in the way I look at it is, if you're young, or if you have the opportunity where you have other people helping support you, and you're really motivated and you really enjoy this career, you just got to jump in and you just got to go for it.
Shannon says, weren't you scared to give up your health benefits and retirement, especially having kids? She's a single mom with only one income and a pension, and her kid is in college. And I'm just going to say, when I made the leap with you, right, I had just gotten divorced. So it was all me and my kid, right? And I had reserves. Don't think that I didn't have some sort of reserves, but I couldn't have created this school with you had I not gone all in. So get your reserves there. And that's why I was asking about the level of your, like, the lifestyle you become accustomed to. I didn't have what I had become accustomed to, but I was able to get
And you
back
can't
there.
get anywhere in life without giving up something.
Yeah.
But yes, if you are a single mom and you do have a kid that you have to feed, you have to do what Nima was saying, really think smart about what you're doing, plan it out, get stuff in the pipeline, do it part-time until you get to where you need to be. But there's also other options there. Maybe if you're a healthcare worker, right? Or if you're in some other career, but you know you want to be in real estate, go and try to get a paid job in real estate. Go become a property manager part-time or full-time.
Transaction coordinator.
Go become a transaction coordinator. Go do something else in the real estate field so you're immersed in it, and you do that as your bridge to getting into full-time real estate.
But that's assuming you don't already have a job, right? Because if you leave your career to then become a property manager, you're kind of now just starting a new career that's hourly.
But no, it's not assuming that, because what if she's in the food service industry? Like, that has no relation to real estate, really.
So you're saying as long as, like, go into a profession, if it doesn't hurt you, if you can lateral, make the same amount of money,
That's
but
an
lateral
option,
into
right.
the field.
It gets you into the field.
Right. So maybe you become a part-time staffer at a real estate office. So you're getting immersed in all of that business, and you're still full-time real estate, even though you're not full-time sales. And then as you build up your pipeline, then you can transition over. As far as healthcare, there's a ton of options out there to buy your own healthcare through.
But if you just lost your full-time job, you have no money to buy healthcare.
Yeah, but look,
okay.
at the end of the day, it's like
You can't.
That's why you start young, when you're more healthy in theory.
Right?
And you're under 26 and living home.
And on your parents'
there you go.
insurance,
Exactly.
there you go.
guys, you can't. This is what kind of actually troubles me about society. Everyone wants success with safety. That doesn't exist, right? It doesn't. Like, you don't get big returns for making safe plays. That doesn't happen, right? You have to take your risks to get reward. That is the natural cycle of life and economics. If you want a safe investment, go make 2% on your money, buy a certain commodity,
And go work
right?
for someone else.
Or you want to make a big roll, take your money, put it in options, and let your dice roll. Like, at the end of the day, you, no matter what, will be leaving a position of safety to go into a new field for higher returns. Unless you're looking for what's basically called kind of, you transfer at equilibrium. So picture like a graph, right? You have something going up like this, and you have something going down like this, like just two lines, right? This is your career in real estate. This is your career in whatever else you're doing. As your career in real estate goes up, your career in something else goes down, because you only have a limited period of day. At one point, these two lines will cross.
And they intersect.
Right? No, that's sort of your middle ground. That's where the time and money in both are now at the same level, right? Where you can count on having the same amount of money. This is the only way to do it safely. You're going to get you have the same amount of flow. And I'm not talking about you sold a house in a month in the peak last 3 years. If you made money in the last 3 years, awesome. Good for you, but a blind dog could have made money, right? So don't think that you're a rock star because you made money in the last 24 months. That's a reality, right? Like,
I don't know about that.
You can
I
make
think
money
you
off
still
Pokemon
had
cards
to
at
have
Target.
some skills and some experience. But
Last 2 months, honestly, the dumbest people were able to make money. Like, this just violated every rule of nature the last 24 months.
traditionally, it was easier in the last couple of years due to COVID, that everybody was looking for a house, that it was easier to make a house.
I knew 16-year-olds on
transaction.
Reddit giving stock advice. Like, sorry, you made money in 2 years. Maybe you're smart, maybe you're not. Don't bank on that for the next 4, that, you're good at what you do.
So did you ever, because you're a lawyer and you're also into investing and doing all of the real estate stuff, did you ever have to make that kind of decision?
So to your point, this is actually where I was going, when that cross, right? I'm a proponent, don't quit your day job. Keep your day job, right? Unless you start getting to the point where you have FU money, right? Your day job, if it's a good career and you're making legitimate money, right? That's called cash flow, people, right? Why interrupt your cash flow? Real estate, if you want to be a real estate agent, that's a different story. You need to go show properties, run down leads, hustle. Very
that's what we're
fundamental.
talking about here.
Well, you could be a real estate investor. No,
investor
we have a
too.
lot of people watching this who
Yeah.
want to be in real estate in different levels. If you want to be a real estate investor, right, it's different. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about being a lot of times buying commercial real estate or doing things like that, keep your cash flow. That's the money that you're making that you're going to save. That's going to put your next 20% down, your next 20% down, your next 20% down. If you want to become a real estate agent, well, you wait for that equilibrium crossroad where you're making as much money.
So I don't agree. I think when you're becoming a real estate agent, you have to jump in 100% as long as you don't have that mouth to feed or something that stops you from
Or you can at least
from
feed
doing
that
that.
mouth.
When I did it, I jumped in. I didn't have health insurance for a year.
You don't disagree.
I
We're
was
saying the
younger.
same
I
thing.
jumped right in.
We're not
Investor,
disagreeing.
yes, I agree. Take your time. Keep your cash flow. I'm with you on the investor end.
We're on the same. If
right.
I'm in that 18 to 22, you're right. That has you could take that risk. If you're in the mid range or to Noelle's
What about
point,
22 to 30? You could do it.
I
too.
was not 22.
And you're with a kid and you have-
No, it
23.
depends. It depends on the kid.
Right,
If you have
23.
no other mouths to feed, there's plenty of
Yeah.
single people out there at 28 that hate their job and they don't know what to do and they want to try something.
I
but
think
if you,
even if you have that mouth to feed, you owe it to that mouth to invest that kind of passion in yourself. I
Yes.
really do.
Correct, but
I
don't
think
not
you need
put
to
food on
figure
the
it out.
table and don't not put a.
you should save,
need
you
to
should have a
figure it
nest
out.
egg. You
Exactly.
should save up
Have
at
reserves.
least
Right.
6
So-
months of reserves.
Because it could take you,
Right.
like I said, it could take a
Agree.
deal. Yeah, it could take you a lead that you get today that says I want to buy a house. It could take you 6 months or a year, and I've had this happen where it takes a long time. It could take a year and a half, 2 years before you actually close it and make any money off of them. So you don't know what's going to happen until
Right.
the check is physically in your bank account.
But everybody's experience is different,
Yeah.
and everybody's drive is different. So for me, I was very driven. I was able
luck.
to jump and lucky.
no, not you, but luck is different too.
Well, luck too. I mean, I've had deals that went out of nowhere, went really well, and then I've had deals that I've spent hours and hours and hours of hard work on blow apart. So it really goes either way. So sure, there's luck, but you have to just go with it. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, the sooner you make a change, the better.
And also, can I just throw out one other thing? One thing that I definitely think got me to where I am today. So like I said, I went for engineering, which is totally different. I was sitting behind a desk programming. And then I said, all right, I'm bored with this. I want to do something a little bit more personable and work with people and out on the road. So I got into sales. So what I did was I got into a field where they gave me sales training. So I was getting paid a salary, a really good salary, plus bonuses, plus healthcare and all those benefits to learn sales. And I leveraged that into another position. And that's what I used to learn the process to get where I am today. So had I just, taken a step back, I can kind of see all, both different sides of from my experience of this, how this works. But had I just jumped into it right after engineering, I might not be where I am today just because I didn't have the sales experience to get where I am. I had bills, I had
You would have
rent.
gotten that experience because
I would have gotten
learned,
it,
and you would.
but who knows if I would have gotten
So quickly.
so quickly, but or also discouraged from it. I had a job where I was getting paid. They sent me away for a few months for training. They taught me the sales process. They taught me how to manage your leads and all of the resources that I use every day now.
Well, we have some questions. This is a topic that everyone's like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah," on, right? Okay. So Maya wants to know, as a family person, everyone here is a family person, do you feel like leaving your full-time job opened you up to more opportunity to actually be with your family?
100%. I do. I make my, so at where I am as an associate, as an agent myself, I make my own schedule. So if on a day, I don't know, a Friday, I say, you know what, I want to spend some time with my son, with my wife. I want to go to the amusement park or the zoo or whatever we want to do. I can do it. I don't have anybody telling me I can't. Yes, I do potentially lose some income because now I can't be taking a buyer out or chasing on a lead or something of the sorts, but you get to choose and pick and choose what you want to do.
So I can vouch that Adam does prioritize his family, which is a great thing. But I don't think it's the
Over
job
the podcast.
Or I don't think it's a job. Or
My son's a little bit
profession, everyone.
cuter.
The reality is, it's you and
you
it's
have
your
Noelle.
character and it's your nature. Doesn't matter what job you're in. If you're whatever you do, whether you're an employee, whether you're in real estate, it just depends on your personality. Some people just obsess over work and they put that before their family and vice versa. That's just that's your character and what you want to do. Like I, for one, I'll be the first to say, and I'm sorry, my kids will watch this podcast when they're older, but I prioritize work, much to the chagrin of my own wife, right? Like weekends, like I answer my phone. Like when my employees tell me that they want family time on the weekends, I'm like thinking in my head, like, oh my God, what kind of bullshit is that?
Oh my God.
You know?
As a real estate agent, especially residential, it's tough to get family time.
And I do work. I work nights. I work weekends. I work holidays.
In anything. Bro, listen, you guys watching, 7 days a week. You work 8 hours a day. You work 9 to 5. You go have lovely dinner with your wife, with your kids, right? 40 hours a week. That guy who woke up at 6, left, didn't say hi to his kids, right? You worked from 6 to 9 before you started. That's 3 hours. 5 days a week, 15 hours.
Wow.
He basically, in the 5-day period, has 2 more full days of work of productivity over to you. Now, if he works over the weekend and he puts in 4 hours a day on each weekend, that's another 8 hours. That means at the end of that week, he has worked 3 more days than you. That's out of a 5-day work week, he's got 8 days in, right?
3 more days of productivity, which brings in more money.
Who's gonna have more money?
But money isn't everything. Let's just
Well, hold on. Yeah, money is not everything, but we're not talking.
Where's my Scrooge toy?
Where's
Somebody bring in my Scrooge.
We're not talking about it as money. So yes, it's money, and as you're getting there, you have to build that money. But once you've been doing this for 10 or 15 years, let's say, that's going to come back to you. And now instead of working that extra 3 days, you're going to be able to take off those 2 days, and you'll be working 3 days a week.
Thank you.
So it will flip.
And I do agree with that.
If you're in a job, your time will not usually flip. It's usually going to stay consistent throughout your career. If you're doing something entrepreneurial, you're going to put in, you're going to rev it up from the beginning, and then it's going to kind of coast in the middle, and then at the end, it's going to flip.
Guys, as long as you're an employee, even if you're your own real estate agent, right? I'm a lawyer. I own my own firm. In the legal world, I'm still an employee. I work for my clients. Adam works for his clients. As long as you guys are out there working for someone else, even if you're your own boss, newsflash, you're an employee. The only difference is you have your own name on the door. Big deal. Until you guys wisen up and listen to our podcast and understand the concept of residual income, understand that you need to invest your money because guess what? Wealthy people's money works for them.
Yes.
Until you get to that level, no matter what, you're going to be working and hustling because you're making money, you're spending money, and you're living to work, right?
And I just want to take one step back. So Eric will probably vouch for this, is that, money is, obviously a big part of why I work hard, I work long hours and so forth. So like when I say like I take off a Friday, it's when you're in this industry, you're never really taking off. I was, for instance, I was in Mexico. I was on a flight. I think I spoke to you on my flight.
That was me who called you like, I want to see this house.
I was
and you're like,
on
I'm
a plane,
on the plane.
Literally on a plane, on vacation, going to Mexico.
But you made it happen.
But I made it happen. I got you in there. We took care of it.
On the plane.
So
From Mexico.
But so that's what I'm saying is like, I can be in Mexico. I can answer my phone. I can still do work there. But and I'm willing to do that on the weekends. I'll be by the pool. I'll bring my laptop. So I still work those hours, but I can work them by the pool. Nobody's telling me I have to be in an office.
I have to say for all of you, because we have a lot of questions coming in about family time and about family and being a family person and leaving your job, so on and so forth. I get my kid involved in what I do.
Please go back to our podcast from 6 ago.
He's 10 years old. So he's young, but I explained to him what I'm doing as much as I can get him involved. So it's a family thing. Everything that goes on in this school is a family thing.
And especially if you're in investing and you're flipping houses or if you're building buildings, you're going to bring your kids, you're going to bring your family. I always ask my wife to help me decorate stuff. And it's just, it can be a whole operation. It can be a lot of fun. But you have to get started, and let's talk about setting a plan and how to really move this forward. So I think if you are here or if you're watching this, you're already thinking, I want to be an investor, I want to be an agent, I want to make a change. Education is the way to figure out what you want to do. Start reading, start watching podcasts, start talking to people that are in the role that you want to be in.
Go to recareercenter.com and join us at the Center for Real Estate Education.
Guys, get motivated by inspirational figures. Can I play something? Because while we were talking about this, people are going to laugh.
Oh, is it copyrighted?
No, it's on YouTube.
All right.
So, and it hasn't been taken out, so I'm assuming it's not. So this is just hilarious because it is an iconic Kanye West. I love Kanye.
All right, play it.
Out of his mind, but listen to what he says, right?
Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
Right? So that was, I believe, when he was at the Grammys, where he says, everyone wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Because you won.
Right.
So guys, at the end of the day, you're always going to sit there and
got
ask
it.
yourselves, what would happen if I fail? Well, you're not going to know unless you try. And a lot of you may fail. And to Eric's point, you got to have a plan. You got to plan for failure, and you have to hope for success.
And it's okay to fail. Failing is part of learning. Failing is part of making yourself
You need
better.
to fail, because if you're not failing, you're just lucky. That's reality.
So what would be your plan if you were talking to someone? Let's say they're mid-30s, mid-40s. They have a little bit of some reserves.
So we talked
What's your
about
idea of
education.
reserves? How much?
A year of being able to pay your bills, or knowing
Put
that
a number
you
out
have,
there.
I don't know, because it depends on what your
can't, 'cause it
lifestyle
depends
Yeah,
is.
but because it really depends on the person and what
If
their
you have a car lease, if you
All right,
have
so
like
why don't we talk about statistical
a
averages? of
$2,000 a
people in
month
the
car
US?
lease, then you
Right.
need to have like $6,000 a month.
Most people have in the United States under $10,000 in savings, statistically speaking, right? And
That's not going to last you 6 months
no,
or a year.
most people don't have
Good
6
if you're
months
living
for
at home and you're driving your parents' car.
True, but let's move up from the kids and work with.
Let's just move past the money. You need to have a nest egg. You figure out what it is. You should have at least 6 months worth of living expenses.
I think it should be more. What happens in 6 months? You're
You're
getting your feet
gonna
wet
know
in
that
6
you got
months.
that you got to hustle and you got to make money.
A year. I think it should be a year.
A year, 6 months depends on who you are. If you know that you can make things happen, like Adam and I would have done it on 2 months. Nima probably would have done it on half a month. Noelle is
Have a week. 15
Noelle is
minutes.
a year. So,
I'm a year.
Noelle is 5 years.
If you can survive in chaos, you will thrive when things are normal,
yes.
right? And guess what? There's no motivation to get out there and hustle like not having any money in the bank.
I like
Yeah.
that
That's
saying, by the
true.
way. You should
That's true.
But while we're all joking here,
Trademark.
thinking that.
while we're all joking here, just understand what the ramifications are. Make sure you know what your expenses are. Just know where you're going forward. Also, if there's stuff you can get out of, let's say you're ready to make that switch and you have 2 cars, right? Maybe you don't need 2 cars. Maybe you only need 1 car. So you get rid of one of those cars in preparation. You can always buy it back. You can always add things to your life, okay? But when you have no money, the less things you have in your life, the better. And it's also less stress.
Eric's saying, stop being a poser. Get rid of all the stuff you don't need. If you're going to start a new profession, right, get raw, get real. Just strip yourself down materially to the basics of what you need to succeed and put all your money, time, and
Ramen
attention.
noodles.
I wouldn't eat ramen noodles. It's, MSG, carbohydrates. I'd still go get your organic
Pasta.
juice in the morning, but
Not at
But
Starbucks.
also take advantage of things. that
not like we have
happen
anything
in
against
life.
Starbucks.
You get a inheritance. You're in a relationship where.
Wait, did you say
wife-
take advantage of things in life? When your family dies and you get that money, you
didn't
take
mean it like
advantage of it.
that.
If you
You're
have
getting
that,
a divorce, you're getting alimony. You
All
have-
great things.
if you have that opportunity, that's a good catalyst.
turn
make
lemons
a
into
change.
lemonade.
Right. If you have an opportunity,
Or tragedy into positivity.
if you have an opportunity via lemonade, tragedy, whatever, to make a jump.
We're not
then
saying
that's-
get married
that's a
just to
good
get
time.
divorced, just to get alimony. We're not going that route.
I mean, if that's a route to take, sorry, hon, but I'm in.
You know,
Put
let's
me
say-
in, coach.
Let's say you're moving from a very high ticket area like California to somewhere like Florida, where the housing prices are less expensive, and you sold your house in California. You may have a ton of extra cash
Yeah.
now. That could be the time.
That's a
for
much
you-
better example.
Thank you. That could be the time to jump into a new career.
But let's be honest. Really, most of you watching, I hope you have a ton of extra cash because you sold your $8 million place in Cali and now you're moving to your $500,000 place in Florida. But the reality is most of you watching here are paycheck to paycheck, right? You're looking for a new career. You probably don't even have 3 months in the bank account. You don't have a month in the bank account. You probably are literally waiting for your next check to come in to pay you the bills of what you put on your credit card last month. If I'm wrong, God bless. That's the reality. That's most of America. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, that's not everybody on this podcast or anybody that's watching this podcast.
It's in general.
A few of our people are like that. And
It's
and
probably
there's a ton of people that aren't like that.
probably most of America. Guys, we're the only country that thrives off debt. Even wealthy people have debt. So
Yes.
there's good debt and bad debt. And that's a different conversation.
So
But
that's a great idea. Actually, look at what your debt is. So when you're making that switch to kick out of your job, understand what your debt is, understand what your obligations are.
And let's be honest, there's a ton of, listen, with inflation right now, it's affected everybody.
True.
I would say everyone at this table is a 1%, right? If I'm at the gas station going, wow,
Top 3%.
The top 3% of realtors, but top 1%, I guess.
Look, if you, I think the statistics, if you're worth over $250,000, you're in the top 1%.
All right.
Right.
So
Really?
everybody here is in the top 1%.
So-
as far as I'm
so-
concerned, in our podcast,
Yeah.
on our show,
At least you're my
our
top one.
visitors,
Well, no, well, we can't say that generally
Understood.
because we have to like there's a lot of you out there who I'd love to pat you on the back, but there's the reality of what most of America lives in, especially in a time right now where inflation is rampant. We are a country that misuses credit cards and debt, and a lot of you are looking to improve your life.
Nima, Ameri for president.
Honestly, the realist.
All right. So let's go back to setting your plan.
Yes. So your
Okay.
plan, what's your plan? How are you going to set it and how are you going to go forward? So let's assume you don't have the means. Let's assume you're working a 9 to 5, you're making 15, 20 bucks an hour, you're barely making it, but you really want to get into real estate. And guys, the realistic approach is you're not going to be able to sit there, save up for 6 months and then just jump into it, right?
What's the first thing? Education.
And what did we talk about when we first said about education when you get a job in real estate? Mentorship.
Mentorship.
They go hand in hand. If you go and listen, you want to know why every real estate agency wants you, right? EXP, Coldwell Banker, what are the rest of them? Well, big names.
Williams.
Keller Williams. Everyone throws everything at you because, guys, why wouldn't you? It's one of the few professions where they don't have to pay you a salary. You add just to their volume and their numbers, and anything you sell, they get a piece of.
And they charge you a monthly amount.
And they charge you monthly.
Right?
So they're making money off of you if you don't sell anything.
So guys, do your research and look for mentorship. If you want to change into this profession, find somewhere where you're gonna get mentorship. So we talked about this when Mike was on the podcast. You've talked about this, Adam. Like, Eric has talked about this. Even Noelle has conceded that she's received the mentorship from Eric. Find somewhere where you're going to. You said it, right?
Yeah,
like you guys
of course.
started. So guys, find somewhere where you're not out on your own. You're not like, I'm just gonna go into
Where
real
you're not
estate,
just a number.
right?
I have to say, so we here at CFRE at the Center for Real Estate Education take that really seriously. We actually have a new small group coaching. So it's small groups where you're with a mentor and they're helping you get from I'm a new real estate agent to I'm now making money, I'm building that pipeline, I'm making those transitions.
Laying the
Because
pipe.
without mentorship, without someone who is ahead of you to tell you what to look forward to, you're not going to get there. I totally agree
So
with
step
you.
1 is education. Step 2 is membership. Step 3, know your debt obligations and have a nest egg.
If you
Have some
can.
cash flow
But
for
what if you
6
can't
months.
do step 3?
Okay, well you have to.
What if you can't?
Well then if you have no obligations, if you have no liabilities, then it doesn't matter.
No,
Maybe
what if you're
have
just
a
crumbled in
plan
debt? You
to
just
when
can't
you
pay
wanna
them.
get there.
Or you just can't. You're just not conceivable to make this transfer and pay them.
Well, then you have to keep your day job, and then you have to slowly work your way into it
Yeah.
through part-time.
Okay. So what does that mean, guys? That means
Or get someone to
That's what
sponsor you.
did. You kept
Get someone
your day job.
who's going to pay your bills for 6 months until you can get your
guys,
job lined up.
what does that mean
Not
to
everyone is as handsome as you are.
what does that mean to you
There's a lot of
guys
people that are more handsome.
as the listeners? It means build your work schedule to leave time in where you can still do showings. You're not going to get as many people because you don't have all day. Make your showings at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? But don't expect to go home to your family. Don't expect to go home and hang out. Don't expect to spend your weekends relaxing because that's your free time now that you have to devote to your second job.
Yeah.
So build that around and understand that that's a much slower path to independence.
And don't be afraid also, by the way. So let's say you work 9 to 5 and somebody says, I want to see this house at 3 o'clock. There's a lot of realtors out there. If you don't show it at 3 o'clock, they might just call somebody else. Don't be afraid to ask somebody else to help you and get a referral. You'll still get paid off of it and you won't potentially lose the client. I do this all the time. I just closed a deal actually yesterday in the area for just under $800,000. I wasn't able to get my client in there when they wanted to see it the second time, whatever the situation was. I asked somebody else that we work with to go in there, and what I'm doing is I'm giving them a referral for helping me. And I didn't potentially lose the whole commission. So I'm still getting a majority of it, but I didn't lose all of it just because of it.
Or just, guys, this is play the game. Tell your client, listen, I'm sorry, they're not available at 3. Can we make this 5? Can we make it 6?
that-
But there's a time and a
work.
place. But
That can work,
sorry, I don't mean to cut. So what I always do is like if somebody says to me, I really want to see it at this time. Like if I can't ever say to them I'm not available because then they're going to call somebody else.
I'll never be unavailable,
Exactly.
guys.
So you can say something. Well, the seller's not available. Can you do this time or something along those lines? But if in the end of the day they can only see it at 2 o'clock and you're not available, and it's the only time that works for everybody but you, get them in there. Find a way, schedule it. Find another associate that can
Leave
help
work. Be like, hey, I have a doctor appointment.
you. Or just take a late lunch.
Have
There's a lot of
support
lie to your
system,
boss.
guys. Basically, what this boils down to is you need a support system both at home and in the office and in your workspace and in your business. So having that support system where you can go to someone
100%.
and be like,
Find someone else who's
Yeah.
in your position who also has time constraints and work together with that person.
You help them, they help you, and you both succeed.
It's funny. So we're talking about this, and like when Eric went around being like 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, like you just decided, like everyone's talking about risk level, and I'm hearing all this. I'm like, support system. Like, what a chump way to go through life. Like, who needs support system? Like,
We're just talking about getting
Oh my
started.
goodness.
You're in the right. You're in the right. I'm just saying how entirely risk, not averse, but pro risk I am
Yeah.
versus like, you know, that tied in. Like, you're like, okay.
You're
do
like,
things the
support
safe
system,
way.
what is that? I've never had a support system.
No, I'm like, man up and just do it
I
yourself.
get it.
Figure
you
it out.
both have
Don't be such a
huge
beep.
support system because you both have wives that help out.
There's a lot of
Absolutely.
silence. I was going to say, there's a lot of silence right now.
I'm just saying, you know.
So
you
let's go
both have
back to
kids.
let's go back.
No, to that point, honestly, I do my best not to involve my wife on work-related stuff because
And I'm not saying work related. She makes your life.
She
Just
takes
your
care of
life.
your kids.
Oh no,
while
no,
you're
yeah.
working
We're
8
talking.
hours.
Of course, that's a different conversation. We're talking about work-wise. Like, guys, remember, if you lean on your spouse, and I'll give you all my personal opinion, and that stress from hustling and trying something new, if you take that home and you then ask for help on that, you're putting a huge burden on your significant other that I don't think is fair. Like, if you're a man or a woman, level up. You're the one taking the risk. You want something new. You keep that inside. You figure it out, internalize it, but don't go dumping that off on other people. Like, if you're
I
here to
think
do that,
Shannon-
do you.
Shannon,
Yes and
the
no.
other single mom on here, she said she's a single mom, would agree with me when you say having that spouse is a support system. If you are a single parent, man or woman, and you are taking care of your child, you need some support system because that does go into what you're doing as
There
an
are
entrepreneur.
there
Of course,
are
who's gonna watch
anomalies.
your kid if you're
There
single?
are
Who's gonna watch
anomalies.
these- There, you need to make sure that they have attention too. It's not just watching.
There are anomalies in life, like Nima, who doesn't need a support system, but the rest of us do. And if you can
I do need
have
a support
one,
system, guys.
it's-
I'm not-
it's-
Your
it's a
wife is
great-
probably watching
it's a
this
great
like,
way-
Shannon said 100%.
No, listen, my
Just
wife
know-
runs the kid. She runs the house. She's an endodontist.
Just have
She
options.
has her own
Have
career.
babysitting options.
I
Have,
just-
have options for showings. You know, one of the really successful people that I've worked with over the years, they started in commercial. That's where they really wanted to go. Okay, but they didn't
you,
have
Eric.
any money.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay.
I don't think he's talking about me
So
either. is he?
it wasn't either of you. So what they did is they went out, and when they were in college, they were a bartender. So they went out and they got a bartending job on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights.
Male stripper
Well, guess
too.
what? That gives them some cash flow, and then they had their free time during the day to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
what did you do during
Just
the
to
day
do-
when you're
let's
working?
let's say you're a massage therapist, right? You do your massages, and you want to do
If you
residential.
are and you come into office, please call me.
Stop. You want to do residential, you do your massages during the day,
Sure.
and then you do your residential on nights and weekends. There's a way to structure something that it can make it work for you.
Working in, I
Eric,
would
what's
assume
the
working in restaurants and retail actually is not a bad way to start in these.
Guys, but also remember, you can burn yourself out. Like, if you're working in a restaurant, you're a bartender, and you're working till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Your goal is to get here.
That's
and
a
we just
short-term
talked
plan
about,
to
you
get
just
you where you wanna
said
go.
Yeah.
before that you have to stress out to get somewhere.
It's going to be hard. Just know that. But let
But
me ask you a
nothing in
question.
life is nothing worth doing is easy, right? So
True.
you have to put in the time. You got to put in the
Unless you bought
effort.
Dogecoin. So, all right, Eric,
know.
what is the average real estate closing price in like this North Jersey area?
500, 400, and I looked at it. For residential, it's like just under 500,000. Let's call it $500,000.
Okay, whatever.
know.
It's just under. It's like
All right,
450
so
or so.
let's take
but
that number, right? So, guys, just assume that if you close it and you're a co-broker on that, the commission on that at 5% is $25,000. So 2.5% is $12,500. And if you're listing age, you get an extra $250, right? So at $12,000, if you close what is one average deal, like do the basic math, like $12,500 that comes in should be able to last an average person because the average rent and other expenses should be able to last 2-3 months, right? So when you get that one deal, like, and you got a couple of those, maybe a part of your plan should be to close a couple of those and don't touch that money. Put it in a bank account, let that become your nest egg. So if you're thinking to yourself, as we've been talking about, saving from your day job to make this transfer, maybe you continue to use your day job to pay for your expenses, but you save from a couple of these real estate transactions to make that transition.
Yeah.
I can tell you an example of someone that worked for me a couple years back. She was a receptionist. She was making $32,000 a year, and she was with me for 2 months, and she closed her first deal, and she got a check for like $15,000. And I'm looking at her. She was a single mom, and she lived with her mother, so she had that network. And I said, what are you doing? Why are you working this reception job? You just did one deal from a lead. It wasn't even like her family gave her the house to sell. It was one deal where she got it. She worked her butt off. She got it. She made 15 grand. I'm like, if you did that every month, you'd be 10 steps ahead of where you are now.
5 steps.
Okay. Well, however many steps. And this person didn't have
Math people.
She didn't have a college education. She had high school level education. I think she had a couple college credits. So she didn't have that confidence that some people have after they go through college. And I really tried to motivate her, but she just couldn't do it. So it's not easy. But you have to look at it as what Nima just said. Do the math. And if you have the ability and you have that drive and you want to be successful and have financial freedom in the future, this is the way to go. Very important.
I also think
Invest in yourselves, people.
Well, that's true. I also think it has to do with what you're doing. So if you are in a job that's easy to get again, you know what I mean? Like if you're an assistant, if you're in retail or restaurant, if I would totally leave the job. But we have
It's a great point.
we have someone here who's in law enforcement for 13 years, you know, and did insurance before that. You know, it's harder to leave your law enforcement job where you're entrenched. It's actually a
No,
career.
if you're in law enforcement, do not leave your
Do not leave your job.
No, and I'm not talking
It's
about.
actually gonna be
no,
good for
I'm
you
not. I'm not. No, I'm not talking about criminals. Like whatever. Somebody else will take your spot. You have a killer 401k that you can borrow against. You can borrow against the money in your 401k. Pay your own 401k back with interest. Right. Use that money and invest in real estate. Right.
It depends on what career stage you're in. If you're in year 2 of law enforcement
No, but
and you
13
hate your
years in.
job,
13
If
years.
you have a
if you're
pension,
13
if
years
you're
in and you
eligible.
13
retire
years, you're-
at 18 years, then yeah, it makes sense to try to do something
At
like
13 years in, like don't run your time. Use your money. That's really, as a police officer, it's on the back end. You get a lot, right?
She said she's waiting for a pension. Yeah, no, don't leave that pension.
But we have tons of police officers that do real estate as a second career.
Sure.
And actually, a lot of police officers do leave their job to do real estate. So, you know, if you're successful,
But after you're
everything
vested,
that we're
you're
saying,
pensioned.
no, you don't have to be vested. You don't have to be any of that stuff.
No, she-
If you feel that you can do it,
Borrow against, right?
you can do it. You don't need to wait. Okay, I don't believe in waiting. If you're good at what you do and you have a passion for it and you feel that you've tested it out long enough where you're in that mode and you're going to keep killing it, then do it.
Eric is a passion person, guys. So, and I can vouch for this. Like Eric, what he does, he truly believes in and he gives his whole heart to it because he is a passion person. And his advice comes from a place of passion. So I hope all of you watching this find one of us on this podcast that you think you can relate to and say, okay, well, I'm going to listen to that person because we have similar personalities. Like Eric truly means the best in everything he does, which is why I love him as a person outside of business. I'm not a passion person. Even if I hated doing something, I would do it because it made money, it has cash flow. I'm what some people call cold, right? In terms of I look at things.
I don't
I'm a
think
good
you're
person. I'm not
cold.
saying that, but no, when it comes to business, like, I look at raw
You're
numbers.
you're all about business.
Right? I like.
Which
I
is
look,
nothing wrong with that, 'cause
I look at
that's-
raw numbers and like everyone has fun and all, but at the end of the day, I will do something I hate because it gives me money. And at the end of the day, that's what the end of this game is. Like nobody's like working because if they work hard enough and they love it enough, they achieve some kind of like level to heaven. Like, oh, I hit like level 28 of love of work, and now I have eclipsed to another.
Well, some
mental
people
plateau.
love to work just for the work purpose.
So that's literally
There are
ingrained
people
in
out there.
people.
Yeah.
It's ingrained. I'm just saying, if you don't like what you do, right? Like, don't be a whiny little baby. Like, if it makes you money and you're not ready to transfer, keep doing it until you're ready to make as much money or enough money that you can leave.
So
If not-
good point. We're talking about money. So everybody has a different level of how much money they need. Some people need 100,000 a year. Some people need 50,000 a year. Some people need 2 million a year, and some people need 10 million a year. Okay, that would be Nima. But it's all about whatever dollar amount that you feel comfortable. You have to set and figure out what you need out of life and get your numbers there and set realistic goals for yourself. But
I don't know. Be unrealistic. Shoot for the stars.
But you have.
don't
Let's
think
say,
so?
let's say you give yourself a year. Let's go with
Eric's
my year.
thinking about. Hold on, he's pondering.
You do know most people
I do
fail
shoot
in the
for the
first
stars.
year.
Right.
You-
So set yourself up for a year.
what is it?
and
3/4
say-
or 80?
if you dream it, if you visualize it, you can own it.
So it's-
But so I do shoot for the stars, just like he said. However, I don't think I shot for the stars in like my first 2 years. I think I said, let me see where I can go with this. And I gave myself realistic goals.
Bought a property that was over a few $100,000 and flipped it. That's not like, okay, let me do a single.
But my goals may have been $1 million a year instead of someone else's goal, maybe 100,000. Everybody has their level.
Don't be afraid. Worst case scenario, you don't hit your goal, but you climb a lot faster when the finish line is further.
Challenge yourself.
Right? And so I read a book. It was, I don't know, was it Atomic Habits or The Key to Happiness? Really cool book. And it actually said don't set goals, right? Because it said if you're goal oriented, that's how you fail. Because most people are goal oriented. Like if you have a diet or if you have and you say, this is my goal, once you achieve it, that drive that had you going is no longer there because you've achieved that goal. So this book talked about how instead of being goal oriented, right, be purpose driven and make your purpose to be successful, make your purpose to be big in real estate, and don't set a goal because once you hit it, and if you hit it, then you're content and you actually lose motivation.
So he's right. So
That makes sense.
My goals are fluid. So I would say my goal every year is at this point in my life is I want to buy at least one building a year. I have a very low entry point for me, but so it doesn't say I want to buy one building a year. It says I want to buy at least one building a year. So that's my goal is to buy buildings. That's what I do. So,
But what's your purpose?
my purpose is I'm addicted to buying buildings.
So his purpose is to grow a real estate portfolio.
It's like a drug for me. So it just gives me endorphins. I love doing it. Really, my purpose is freedom, where I can wake up in the morning and just do whatever I want. I'm kind of there right now. So now it's more of just it's something I enjoy doing.
Do you have a goal every year? Say, I want to buy X amount of buildings, specific number.
I don't have numbers. I just say I like to add.
So have you ever had that goal?
I have had specific number goals. Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, but for the most part, you would say you're purpose driven.
Yes.
Okay. Adam, do you have a goal? So I'm going to sell or close 32 transactions a year, or are you purpose driven? I'm going to close and sell as many as I can.
It's kind of both. So it's a personal goal, kind of like to sell more properties than I did the year previously, or at least a higher dollar amount. It doesn't have to be number of properties, dollar amount. But on the other side, I just want to sell as many as I can.
Okay. So
I mean, I just want to hustle and sell properties.
Noelle, what about you? Do you have goals that you say for yourself?
Not many type of goals. I have goals for how I want my life to look. Money doesn't actually push me to do anything. I'm more of a praise person, and you know this. Like,
Great job, Noelle.
Good job.
Praise be to Noelle. The merciful, the generous, the great.
In that praise, but it's also the way my life looks. How much time am I spending with Brendan? How happy am I? I'm really looking to have a life where I feel and also feel needed.
You guys notice that's why she's the nice one on the panel? I'm just saying.
I think
that's
positive. Three of us are really nice.
However, I will preface that by that can't happen, not unless I make money. So the new house can't happen, not unless we have money, right? All of this stuff can't happen, so, and I like gadgets, so I do need money.
And what about your goal?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know. It's very easy for me to talk about other people, but when you have to reflect on yourself, I think that takes a level of enlightenment I lack.
You got 30 seconds.
Go ahead, enlighten us.
Usually I don't need more time than that. I think my goal, if I had a goal, it's probably more purpose-driven. It is to accomplish more than what my father's accomplished. While that sounds stupid and it's not family basis, it's like, you look at it and you say, okay, what can you create and what impact will you have on this world? So that's, I think, I'm not a goal-oriented person. I'm very purpose-oriented. Like for me, it's beyond that. Like I think about daily about, okay, I want to start a 501c3 and what kind of impact will it have? Because listen, one day I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be in the dirt. Maybe my kids will visit me, my tomb. Maybe they'll move to another state.
Dogs will definitely pee on you.
No, I'm going to get one of those really, really nice ones that's got dogs aren't allowed. But look, the reality is like I'm thinking about every day. It's not money, but lineage. Like what impact am I having so my name stays alive?
But you're giving us a grand, big picture.
That's what I have.
What's your yearly thought?
I don't have one. I don't wake up being like, I want to do a better than, I don't even know how much money I made last year. I just want to wake up every day and be like, all right, like if there's an opportunity, I get opportunities. I just don't like to pass them up. And on an opportunity by opportunity basis, how do I figure it out? How do I make it work? And then it's done. I move to the next one.
I think there is a point though, when you're making a certain amount of money that you can move to the more esoteric. You can move to the more, what is the meaning of my life?
I've been like that since before I was making a ton of
I think
money.
you always have to have a little bit of what is the meaning of your life. But sometimes when you're 21 or 25, you don't know what it is yet. So it takes time to get
And
there.
I grew up, comfortable life with my family, and I was able to go to camp and do this and that.
Band
so,
camp?
band camp, exactly.
Are we too old where we're the only ones who remember how that's funny? Like, you're all watching this like, what the hell's band camp?
American Pie.
Ramapo Day
I haven't
Camp.
even watched it.
But
Shout out to Ramapo Day Camp.
So like I was fortunate. Like I could go to camp, I could do things, and it wasn't, it wasn't like money wasn't what got in the way of me going to camp. It was if I wanted to or not. If I wanted to go to sleepaway camp. So I have a little over 2-year-old son right now, and my goal, one of my biggest goals, is to have him be able to do that exact same thing. If he wants to go to camp, if he wants to travel, if he wants to study abroad, it's his choice. I don't want money to be the reason that he can't do it. So that's my motivation.
crying?
Obviously, sorry if I brought a tear to your eyes. I know
No,
it was deep, right?
All right, last word.
No, I
That's my motivation. I want my family to be able to live comfortably and be happy. And I told my wife after she had her son, I said, she's a nurse practitioner. She's the stable one with the stable income. I told her, you can work if you want to. You don't have to work if you don't want to. I said, that's my goal.
That was
is to-
actually a question someone had, but go ahead.
my goal is to make enough money that you don't have to work if you want to stay home with our son and our family and take care of that. That's totally up to you.
And you hit that goal already.
I hit that goal, but she shows she wants to work.
Yeah, guys, I think if you're a female in this industry, and I don't want to speak for females, but
Please don't.
or you're a male. Look, and your other significant other makes enough where you don't have to. Guys, still do something. And real estate's a great thing to do, even part-time, because you need that for you. You need a sense of accomplishment. You need a sense of independence. And I think that this is actually a great profession where you can take your kids to school, you can do your thing, and you can still make your own money, where you're not ever dependent on anyone. And I don't want to, it could be male or female.
Yep.
I'm just saying female because statistically speaking, there are more women at home than there are men, right? That number may change in the future.
We're gonna give our last. We're gonna give our last thought.
Hold on. It's about passion.
Okay.
That's my last thought. It's about passion. If you have the passion to do something, go do it. If you visualize something, which is what I do, I can make it happen through visualization. Noelle, I know, is the same way. If she sets something in her mind that she wants, she goes and gets it. Same thing with the career change. If you're looking to do something, just find the time that works for you. We've given you a lot of pros and cons. We've given you a lot of things to worry about. We've given you insight into our lives. But just go and do it. Whether it's real estate or something else, just go do it. Life's too short.
Dive in. Basketballs to the wall.
Basketballs to the wall.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Give us your last word.
If you visualize it, you can own it.
Thanks, guys. Bye.